Welcome back to the cryptowrld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, Bitcoin's still playing out the short-term oversold signal, now wiping out this exact area of liquidity that's been building above the price of Bitcoin in the Bitcoin liquidation heat map. But now that this has happened, we're also starting to run into this major area of resistance that we cannot ignore. So I'll be talking about that in just a moment, alongside Ethereum still playing out this oversold signal, repeating history, but also starting to run into a bit of resistance that we need to pay attention to, while Chainlink is now officially confirming the new bullish divergence on this daily time frame. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, starting off on the weekly Bitcoin price chart, and the super trend indicator is still sitting in the red, indicating a larger bearish movement on the larger time frames. And if we're taking a look at this weekly Bitcoin price chart, of course, over the last one day, we've not yet confirmed any invalidation signal to actually invalidate this much larger bearish divergence that has been perfectly playing out, as I've been saying, every day since over a month, since almost 2 months ago, since all the way back up here is when the bearish divergence actually confirmed. So every day since then, I've been saying expect a lack in bullish momentum, most likely a bit more of a pullback on the larger time frames over multiple weeks or months. Once again, this is not a short-term signal. And so obviously not a lot has changed over the last one day on the weekly time frames. And if we're taking a look at the 3-day Bitcoin price chart, it's possible we're still playing out this oversold signal in the 3-day Bitcoin RSI, which is kind of a short to mid-term signal, not necessarily a super long-term signal. But if we're looking at the last couple of times we confirmed an oversold signal on the 3-day Bitcoin RSI, that was over 3 years ago, around mid 2022. And what came next was either more of a sideways consolidation, so choppy sideways price action, or a bit more of a bullish relief that lasted over multiple weeks. But obviously, based on these previous examples, an oversold signal did not necessarily guarantee that we've hit the bottom and that we can't go lower. Of course, it is possible we could go lower at some point later on, but at least in the somewhat shorter term, the short to mid term, over the next couple of weeks or so, it's possible we could continue either a little bit more of a bullish relief, or maybe just a sideways consolidation, kind of bouncing around in a bit of a sideways price range. And if we're taking a look at the daily Bitcoin price chart, at least over the last 1 to 2 weeks, that has been what has happened, because we can see, at least for now, the price of Bitcoin is still bouncing between support and resistance. First of all, we still have a lot of support at give or take 85,000, continue to expect a lot of support around 85,000. And as for resistance, obviously previously, close to a week ago, over half a week ago, we saw a perfect rejection from my exact area of resistance in between 92 to 94,000. And right now, as I'm recording this video, we're now once again retesting this same area of resistance in between 92 to 94,000. And we can see for the first time since this latest bounce from this support, for the first time since the bounce, we're now exactly starting to struggle in this perfect area of resistance here. So once again, we're still finding resistance, still finding struggle, possibly could see another short-term rejection, but overall struggling a little bit around this resistance, which is to be expected. And so obviously in the immediate short term, we're still kind of within this sideways price range between this support and this resistance. But if we actually break out above this resistance with, let's just say, a daily candle close confirming above 94,000 and actually holding above that area, in that situation, that would actually be a very bullish signal for 2 different reasons. First of all, simply breaking out above an important level of resistance by itself is of course a bullish signal. But on top of that, we have a possible double bottom pattern, also known as a W pattern, on the daily Bitcoin price chart. And yes, if that confirms, that is a possible bottom signal. So once again, an oversold signal by itself is not necessarily a bottom signal, but if we combine this with, let's just say, if we actually confirm this breakout confirming a double bottom, then that is a potential bottom signal, possibly pointing towards more of a reversal out of this larger bearish trend. And so this area of resistance is definitely important for the price of Bitcoin due to those reasons. Of course, right now, once again, I want to make it clear, we've not yet confirmed a breakout, which means it is still possible we could continue to struggle, possibly even see another short-term rejection. So just be aware of those short-term risks as we're now retesting this resistance. But I'm just saying, if we break out above this resistance, break out above 94,000 with confirmation, in that situation, that would actually set up a technical price target for this double bottom pattern at approximately 103,000. But I I want to make two different things clear. First of all, once again, we've not yet confirmed that price target because we've not yet confirmed a breakout above 94,000. But of course, even if we do confirm this breakout above this resistance, setting up this bullish price target at just above 100,000, 103,000, of course, we cannot ignore other points of resistance along the way where the price could potentially struggle out or possibly reject from. Like, for example, give or take $100,000, I would expect a decent amount of resistance right there. And if we're actually zooming further into the short term, looking at the 6-hour Bitcoin price chart, we can see the short-term areas of resistance to watch out for. And so once again, we have this area of resistance that we are testing right now as of recording this video in between 92 to 94,000. And this is an area that I have been warning about here on the channel on the price chart before we even hit it the first time, before we perfectly rejected from that area. I've been warning about this exact area in between 92 to 94,000. But once again, if we break out above that area, then the next target, the next area of resistance is in between roughly 99,000 to 100,000. And then if the price ultimately breaks out above that area, in that situation, the next major resistance will likely be sitting at around 106 to 107,000. And obviously over the last 1 to 2 days, we've been perfectly playing out this oversold signal that I've been talking about over the last couple of days here in the 6-hour Bitcoin RSI. Obviously, like I said 2 days ago now, we hit oversold, which is a signal in the immediate short term telling us we went too far to the downside too quickly, and we now are likely going to see a bit of a bounce in the short term. And what we've seen since then is exactly that. But we now have to be aware of the fact that, of course, this short term over signal has already played its part. We've already well and truly reset out of oversold. In fact, we're now closer to overbought than we are to oversold, at least in the 6-hour time frame in the short term here. And once again, we have to be aware of the fact that we are now running into this resistance where previously we've seen a lot of struggle for the price of Bitcoin. And also we need to pay attention to this Bitcoin liquidation heat map, because obviously if you've been watching my videos for even the last 1 week or so, you'll know that pretty much every day for the last week, I've been talking about this major area of liquidity here sitting at just above 93,000, especially closer towards 94,000. And we've now exactly wiped out that area of liquidity that I've been targeting for a while now on the channel over the last few days. And so obviously over the last 1 to 2 days, that has been good for the price of Bitcoin, helping to cause some of this bullish price action here, moving towards this area of liquidity. But right now is potentially a little bit of bad news due to the fact that we've now already wiped out that area, which means we don't really have a lot of liquidity immediately above the price, helping to push the price even higher. But with that being said, we are beginning to see a new level of liquidity starting to build in this Bitcoin liquidation heat map at pretty much exactly 94,000. So we still have that liquidity at roughly 94,000, which means that can help draw the price back towards the upside at roughly 94,000 as a immediate price target for the price of Bitcoin. But once again, considering the fact that we still have this oversold signal playing out on the 3-day time frame, which will likely at least be playing out over the coming days, possibly another 1 or 2 weeks, this is telling us that at worst we'll likely remain in this sideways price range, as in most likely seeing a break from all of this bearish trend right here, but potentially seeing a bit more of a bullish relief as we've seen over the last 1 to 2 weeks. And so in other words, if we're talking about, let's just say the next week or so, expect a bit more of a break or a relief from this bearish trend, not necessarily confirming the end of the trend like what we saw in 2022, but overall just for the next week or so, expect kind of the same sort of price action that we've been seeing over the last 1 to 1.5 weeks. And so when we consider that information, what would be my trading strategy right now for the price of Bitcoin? And as always, not financial advice, but my next trading strategy most likely will be a breakout trade if we of course first confirm the breakout. I want to make that clear. I'm not opening a trade right now, but if we confirm a breakout, so candle closes above around 94,000 and actually hold above that area, in that situation, that will be a signal for a new long position opportunity. Once again, not financial advice. I'm just letting you know what I'm potentially looking at doing. And so for example, if I open a long position just above 94,000, once we start breaking out, and then if we see more confirmation, for example, a retesting this area, and then we start to bounce from that area, that would be a signal to add to a long position, to increase the position size, because we're having more confirmation in the breakout. In other words, we can start to become more confident that we're really heading towards the upside, towards the next target. And then of course, as usual, with a breakout trade like this, I'll look to take some profits, not necessarily closing the entire trade, but taking some profits off the table at around the next major point of resistance, especially around the price target for the W pattern. But at each of these levels of resistance, or this price target right here, I'll just take a small amount of profits, reducing the size of the trade, not closing the entire trade at any one level. And usually I do that just before we hit a certain point of resistance, or just before we hit the price target, in case we don't fully get to that resistance or that price target. And in this example, once again, not financial advice, but of course we have to consider risk management. So in my position here in this example, if I have a long position open, I would have a stop loss just below the point of invalidation, which would be a break back below this area right here in between 92 to 94,000. So in other words, if we confirm the breakout, and then if we confirm candle closes back below this area, if we fail to hold this area, then in that situation, the breakout has failed and we have basically a fake out, and that would be a short-term bearish signal. So I would have a stop loss just below the point of invalidation, because that would invalidate the trade, therefore taking a small loss, avoiding further losses in the worst case scenario. And then of course, if the trade continues further into profits towards the price targets, in that situation, I'd move my stop loss at least towards break even, ideally moving a stop loss further and further into profits as the trade moves further into profits, so that in the worst case scenario, you're still coming away with profits and reducing your risk. And so once again, that's just an example of a breakout trading opportunity that is potentially just about to happen. Once again, not yet started, not yet confirmed, not financial advice, but that's just what I'm looking at potentially doing if we confirm the breakout here, which is potentially getting very close as of recording this video. And so if you haven't done so already, definitely make sure you're set up ready to go on a crypto exchange. And if you use the first link below this video in the description and in the pinned comment, that first link will take you to this page right here over on Pinex, where you can take advantage of some major deposit bonuses that are only available using that link. So for example, if you simply just make an account, complete KYC, you get a 50 USDT bonus on your account. And on top of that, there's also deposit bonuses. If you deposit just $100, you get a $100 deposit bonus. If you deposit 10,000, you can get a 1,000 USDT deposit bonus, which you can then go ahead to use that deposit bonus to actually open a Bitcoin futures trade, a futures grid bot, for example, over on Pinex, using the deposit bonus, using the exchange's money. And so once again, if you want to take advantage of this and check this out for yourself, check it out. First link below this video to Pinex. But if you want a no KYC crypto exchange, another exchange out there that I also use for long positions and short positions, for that, definitely check out the second link below this video. That second link in the description and in the pinned comment will take you to 2bit, specifically this page right here over on 2bit, where you can also take advantage of massive deposit bonuses that are only available using that link. And on top of those deposit bonuses, you can also enter into this trade protection or recovery fund, where basically you can get money back if you get liquidated during this event right here that's running right now. And so first of all, if you're a new user on 2bit, making your account for the first time using the link below the video, on your first futures trade, you can get a 100% loss protection on your first futures trade, up to 200 USDT in trial funds. And on top of that, if you're getting liquidated during this event right here that's running right now for the next week, if you're getting liquidated over 50 USDT during the event, you may be eligible for recovery compensation up to 1,000 USDT. In other words, getting some of your liquidation back, even if you have a losing trade. And so once again, if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, or getting set up ready to go to take that next trading opportunity, you might as well check this out. Second link below the video. And once again, 2bit is a no KYC exchange. But with that being said, taking a quick look at the Bitcoin dominance chart on the daily time frame, and right now we're looking slightly more bullish than we are bearish for the Bitcoin dominance, but overall we don't have a significant amount of momentum to either direction. So yes, we're looking slightly bullish, but it's not like we have a significant amount of bullish momentum, for example. And so what this basically means is that Bitcoin will likely be at least slightly outperforming a lot of the major altcoins out there on average. As always, there's always outliers, so some altcoins can still be outperforming Bitcoin even if the Bitcoin dominance is bullish, but a lot of the major altcoins on average will likely be slightly underperforming Bitcoin, but still performing very similar to whatever Bitcoin is doing. And if we're taking a look at Ethereum on the daily time frame, right now the price of ETH, as of recording this video, is starting to break out. We're attempting a breakout, not yet confirmed, I want to make this clear, but attempting a breakout above this important short-term level of resistance here, which has really been sitting in between roughly 3,000 to 3.1k. And as of recording this video, the price is sitting slightly above 3.1k. But ideally, to actually confirm the breakout, we need to see this daily candle close confirm above 3.1k and obviously continue to hold above that level to keep the breakout active. But considering the fact that we are already starting to break out above 3.1k, for as long as this confirms, in that situation, the next target, the next potential point of resistance to watch out for would be sitting in between roughly 3250 to 3.3k, and above that I would expect a lot of resistance in between around 3.6k to 3.7k. And we also have a potential W pattern or double bottom pattern for the price of ETH on the price chart, as we can see right here. And the technical price target, if we confirm this breakout that's happening right now, if we confirm this breakout above around 3.1k, in that situation that sets up a bullish price target at approximately 3430, so just above 3.4k as a technical price target. But once again, we do have resistance starting at close to 3.3k, slightly underneath 3.3k that we cannot ignore. But let's just say from where we are right now to this price target, that's roughly around a 10 to 11% move towards the upside, which is also a potential trading opportunity to pay attention to if we see this confirmation signal. And if we're zooming further into the short term, of course, one of the main factors, one of the main signals that's helping cause this short-term bullish price action, alongside the fact that Ethereum is of course just correlated to what Bitcoin is doing, is due to the fact that we're playing out an oversold signal in the 4-hour Ethereum RSI. And obviously this is exactly what I talked about in my last video. I said an oversold signal, as usual, does not guarantee we've hit the bottom and that we can't go lower. It is possible we can go lower at some stage later on, but at least for the following days after an oversold signal on the 4-hour time frame, we're most likely going to see a bit of a bounce, whether that's a decent bounce or maybe just a slight bounce and a bit of sideways price action. But either way, helping to reset the RSI out of oversold is what we're most likely going to see over the next couple of days. And obviously, since I said that yesterday, that's exactly what has been playing out as predicted and could potentially continue to play out a little longer, especially if this breakout confirms. But we do have to be aware of the fact that right now we're actually now getting closer towards overbought in the short-term RSI on the smaller time frames, like this 4-hour time frame. And so if, for example, we continue a little bit higher with this bullish breakout right here on the daily time frame, it's possible that soon, over the coming hours, over the next one day, it's possible if we continue a little bit higher, we could soon hit overbought in the 4-hour RSI, which is basically an opposite signal to an oversold signal. Not necessarily guaranteeing that that's the top right here, but could cause a slight little cool off kind of like this before we maybe head a little bit higher later on if we confirm this breakout. And so those are the key signals and the key indicators to watch out for and the key levels to watch out for right now for the price of ETH and a possible price target soon potentially about to confirm. And if we're taking a look at Solana on the 2-day time frame, right now the price of Solana is once again retesting this exact area of resistance after perfectly bouncing from this exact level of support sitting at around 124. And of course, this area of resistance is sitting in between around 143 to 147. And so obviously, as of recording this video, we've not yet confirmed the breakout back above 147, which means this is still acting as resistance. It's possible that we could still see a lot of struggle, possibly another rejection from this resistance. So we need to be aware of those short-term risks for Solana on the price chart. But if we actually confirm a breakout with at least a daily candle close, ideally here on the 2-day time frame, a 2-day candle close above 146 or 147, and actually hold above that level, in that situation, I would expect a continued bullish move up towards roughly 166 to 170 as the next major area of resistance. And of course, if we see this breakout here, then we're likely going to also see a breakout for Ethereum above this resistance and Bitcoin above this resistance. Obviously, a lot of the crypto markets highly correlated. So as soon as one of these assets, especially the larger assets like Bitcoin, as soon as one of these starts breaking out towards the upside, a lot of the crypto market, a lot of the major altcoins will likely follow along with it. And so for now, those are still the key levels to watch out for in the next possible price target if we confirm this breakout. And if we're taking a look at the price of XRP on the weekly time frame, we still have to be aware of the fact that we have a massive bearish divergence on the much larger time frames that has already been perfectly playing out as predicted months ago on the much larger time frames in the form of this much larger multi-month pullback, which is actually what I predicted end of July, early August. You can even watch my videos back then I talked about this major multi-month pullback coming over the next couple of months when no one else out there was talking about that. But once again, this is not a short-term signal. This has been playing out over multiple months. If we're zooming into a slightly smaller time frame, looking at the daily time frame, what is more of a shorter-term signal is this smaller bullish divergence, which is technically still active on the daily XRP price chart, which means we're most likely going to see either more choppy sideways price action like this, or potentially a little bit more of a bullish relief kind of like this as the most likely outcomes, the most common outcomes from a bullish divergence. And considering this is on the daily time frame, it will likely play out at least over a period of days, most likely a period of say 1 or 2 weeks, just talking about the somewhat shorter term here. And as for support and resistance to watch out for, obviously we have a lot of support in between around $2 to $2.05 and more support at roughly around $1.94. And as for resistance, we have a lot of resistance to watch out for in between roughly $2.30 to $2.40. And so obviously if Bitcoin and other major altcoins continue these sort of bullish reliefs in the short term, and especially if we break out here for Bitcoin, then it's very likely that very soon XRP will soon see another retest of this resistance in the short term. And if we're taking a look at the price of Chainlink on the daily time frame, obviously right now Chainlink is actually starting to flip a little bit more bullish in the short term now that we've officially confirmed the new bullish divergence that I talked about in my last video on the daily Chainlink price chart. And so obviously, as I said yesterday, roughly halfway through this pump right here, I said we are most likely going to see a bit more of a bullish relief. It's a very likely scenario for the price of Chainlink. And obviously, since I said that, that's exactly what we've seen as predicted, because we were already very close to actually confirming the bullish divergence when I recorded my last video. We had already formed the bullish divergence and we're just about to confirm it. But right now, as of recording this video, we have now officially confirmed the bullish divergence with now a higher low well and truly confirmed in place in the RSI and very slight lower lows, almost horizontal lows in the price. But even if we have horizontal lows in the price, that's still a form of a bullish divergence if we have higher lows confirmed in the RSI. And of course, if you're new to all of this, when we're looking at the price here, I'm looking at the candle closes because by default, the input data for the RSI goes off candle closes. And so now that we're playing out this bullish divergence, we're also actively playing out a double bottom pattern or W pattern with a technical price target, which is now in play. This has already just been confirmed. This technical price target is sitting at approximately $15. And obviously right now we're almost already there from the breakout at roughly 1340, 1350. We've now broken out above that short-term resistance and we've already gone up about 7% from that point, and the price target would have been around a 12% move. But from where we are right now, as of recording this video to that price target, that's still roughly around a 5% move towards the upside still to go. But be aware of potentially a bit of resistance at roughly around $14.50, which so far we have started to struggle a little bit around that level, which is already a level that I've been talking about over the last few days. But if we continue above $14.50 in that situation, once again, we have this price target at about $15, but really the next significant resistance is in between roughly $15.20 to $15.70. And once again, if you want to take any of these trading opportunities in the price of any crypto, check out the links below this video to those exchanges if you want to claim the massive bonuses that are only available using those links. And if you want to actually know how you can trade crypto no matter what the price is doing, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.